end of our fiscal year in 1984, we had exactly 6 employees.
It was a different age then. We'd spend a lot of time body surfing at Black's Beach and sliding down green waves in front of the Scripps Pier.
We found out that UCSD the university had a surplus furniture store. So we went down there and we picked up a bunch of desks and chairs, these old iron desks.
Part of the fun, and it's always been fun from the beginning, part of the fun was this prospect of bringing great science to bear on these very big, seemingly insoluble problems of human health. That still to this day gives me the chills when I think about it. It really is the fun of it.
We thought of Agouron as the Agora, having something to do with the marketplace. And it turns out that when you pronounce it, it means something in Greek like small, green, sour apples. We'd misspelled it. We were all products of the late 60s, I guess it was, and early 70s, and the university here was going through change, and John and I were involved in Lumumba Zapata College, and Peter...
Close colleague of Angela Davis.
Yeah, right. John and Peter were involved in setting up innovative schools, and these guys built the now defunct Pepper Canyon.
Yeah. This is really how we met. We were together on a preschool that we built for our children right on campus.
I drifted off, left John's lab, and in poor taste went off to try to make some money.
We kept exploring all these ideas, like doing science in the path of progress. Remember?
Yeah.
San Diego was exploding.
Very interested in real estate at the time.
So, and then we went through this thing about spinning off dozens of companies, with the Agouron being the center and these companies spinning around it. And then we needed. The point was that neither John or I knew how to coordinate any kind of operation, and we brought together a bunch of scientists, and we had this little institute, but it was clear that we couldn't handle it, and so we were looking for somebody who knew a little bit about business and who could really get the place to hold together. And that was when John suggested Peter, because Peter was up on his farm. I don't know whether you had made some money or did something, but you were sort of in an interim period.
Yeah, I had run these real estate companies with my dad, and then my dad died, and I sort of sold those and retreated up to the hill to figure out what to do next. Meanwhile, watching with a lot of interest as your friends, some of whom had become my friends, were starting these companies, and I was actually dying to do it.
I keep telling the story over and over again, and we brought down 3 or 4 very famous scientists to spend the day at the Institute, and one of them took me aside and said, "Who is that guy, Peter Johnson?" I said, he's our business guy. He's the business, managing the business. He said, no, he couldn't be the business guy. He was out there reading a DNA gel, and he was telling the scientists what the next experiment was to do. Business guys know business. They don't know no gels.
When I first met Peter Johnson, I thought to myself, is this the kind of guy that has the background to lead us forward the way that we need? 30 seconds later, I knew this was the man that was going to lead us into history.
I think he's an inspiration to all of us, and it's definitely his culture that pervades the company. We have excellent science, and I think excellent leadership.
Just close my eyes again.
Peter has this instinct for dealing with human beings that comes from, I think, a basic humanity. And a basic need to relate to human beings rather than to a bunch of numbers and suits and calculations. And I think that's part of what's behind the spirit that you see in the company.
fundamental kind of decency and collegiality about Agouron that I think we all have to fight very hard to preserve, even as we become a expressly commercial company. And I don't pretend to have all the secrets. I think there are, fortunately, there's a history of a set of values in the company and an instinct for approaching problems and people, which is present today, even at 500 and some employees, and I hope is there, when we get to 1,000. But it's going to take some work on all our parts to make sure that happens.
They're dying from a disease for which there is no cure.
A puzzling new disease has appeared that is spreading rapidly among homosexuals.
There is no apparent explanation for the outbreak.
We didn't know what it was. They called it the gay cancer.
So far, doctors have only documented 60 known cases among gay men, so it is by no means an epidemic.
1, 2, XU!
Many of us believe that it may be infectious, that it may be a new mutant type of virus, and it is spreading through these individuals, suppressing their immune system.
I don't know how I got at it.
Now it's been detected in Haitian refugees.
Do we know for certain what causes it?
No.
AIDS has struck only a reported 1,500 people, but it has killed almost 600 of them.
Do we know how it spreads?
No.
Now, if we don't know how to cure it, it must be spreading like wildfire.
Yes, they're growing at an exponential rate.
In major cities, gay men and their supporters marched to call attention to the government's failure to respond.
The American Red Cross is recalling vials of a blood product used by hemophiliacs.
The impact on blood banks could be disastrous.
I've had fungal infections, I've had warts, I've had stomatitis, which is an infection of the mouth, so serious that I would not be able to eat, and I have cancer.
At the start of the company, we had one project, and everybody worked on that project.
We were convinced that there was going to be a very interesting conjunction between structural biology, that is, determination of structures of molecules via X-ray crystallography, and molecular biology.
We were afraid, I was certainly afraid, that it wouldn't work because nobody before had taken a bunch of chemists and tried to make them talk to a bunch of molecular biologists and then to these esoteric crystallographer types.
You got the craziest ideas together with the craziest people.
That itself is a kind of mixing of cultures that don't ordinarily mix.
Trying to put a concept that had never been tried before, and it actually worked. We did something new and different, and it worked.